We see a lot of more adoption from the AAA HD $60, $70 games accepting monetization as an advertising channel, and this was historically not the case.
I would say that the first two are quite related to the ad tech industry. The very first one is the change in terms of the waterfall monetization landscape into a more bidding landscape. So this has a very big impact on specifically the around the game environment. I think the other thing that has changed is also the increase in in-game formats. As an example, in-game audio has now come into play. And finally, from an audience standpoint, consumers now have more of a choice. There's a lot more, there is the rise of cloud gaming as an example, which means that players can now just play across different platforms and don't actually need a physical hardware or a powerful hardware to actually have the gameplay.
I'd probably say brand engagement, thinking about IP integrations into games and how brands are starting to think about entering gaming in a more immersive way. Entertainment is a perfect example of that, where movies are now starting to be recreated into gaming environments.
It will just broaden the space we work in. Today we bring immersive native experiences in the gaming world. We're big believers around the 3D internet, and over time more of the consumer time spent on internet-based applications will be in 3D environments. So it just broaden our offering, bringing great experiences not only in the game but in other touch points of consumers with 3D products.
It definitely encourages brands to think very differently about how they can level up their creative messaging and also how they can interact more effectively with their consumers in an interesting way. From an AR perspective, it's the ability to layer on a very, very different approach as well as perspective in a physical world. Right, and then from a VR perspective, it's also the ability to completely drive a different conversation as well as brand love in an immersive world, be it from a branded immersive billboard within a game or branded product placements that is within their own digital ecosystem.
Well, I think AR and VR is very dependent on the game itself. You're not going to have AR and VR in all games. It's got to be adding value to the game, and I think the opportunity there is you have a highly immersive experience as a player, and the opportunity I think on that side is the engagement would increase. So you're going to get better engagement, better intention, and from a marketer's perspective, that should translate to better performance and outcomes. A focus on quality. So, think about brand guidelines. What are the type of brands that you want in your games? What type of advertising that you want, and build out a strong guideline to focus on always having quality. And I think sometimes that gets overlooked.
I would definitely say understand your audience as well as understand the type of game environment that you actually are. The other thing is to actually don't be afraid to test and learn. We tell that to brands and advertisers all the time, to test and learn gaming formats, test and learn the different formats that you can also have, gather feedback from the consumers in terms of what works better. But that also ties into having a good balance. Always maintain a good balance between the number of ads that are being shown as well as where it's being shown.
So it's really about finding this win-win about the game experience, the ad experience, what makes sense for the gamer as part of his journey, what would make sense for the brand, and balancing the brand's desire of promoting his content versus the game world, the art of the game, and what makes sense in that journey. There's great ways to find win-wins. There's a lot of ways of how to do it wrong. One thing you don't want is to mess with gamers, so just balance these things in the right way.